welcome back to Mrs. Wizard's Way, and it's my car. Isn't it beautiful? If you guys have not watched that first video I did in this series about the scamming at the lot, you want to do that. There's a link in the description below. If you've seen that, keep watching. So here is my 98 BMW Z3. And in the previous video you saw we went looking for a car. The car we were looking for at that time was a Saturn Sky. I wanted something fun, something interesting, something different, and that definitely fit the bill. We also were in the market, as we were trying to find a car, was a early 2000s Toyota MR2. And as much as the Wizard wanted me to try and like a Pontiac Solstice, I really couldn't get into one of those. I don't know. I just didn't like the design of it. Were there other cars that were available? Small, cute little compact convertibles? Of course there were. Some of them, I really did think this one was off the market altogether because, you know, being that the Wizard so loves BMWs. But luckily, this is a pre-2000 model, which makes it a little bit more interesting for him without as much breaky plastic. So, okay. We got this one. We found this one. It took a long time because the ones we did find that were in the models that we were kind of looking for, they were 4 states away. They wanted a fortune for them. There was one that was local-ish, but it had a rebuilt title. And okay, it's one thing if the Wizard has a Viper with a rebuilt title, that's a supercar. These are not supercars, okay? And rebuilt title on a car that's in this kind of class probably isn't going to be very good. So I was a little like, no, we're not going there. But this guy, we found a couple hours away from us. Wizard contacted them because we were very leery. It's like, oh no, not another one. We can't, you know, we're just worried about what could be wrong because of that first experience. So he contacts them and said, you know, hey, I'll pay your asking price if you deliver it. Because then we don't have to worry of, did we drive down there? Are we going to find blown head gasket again? Air conditioning system non-operational? No, if he can drive it here, we know for 2 hours, perfect as can be. And if the guy knew his car was what it was, hey, he just got his full asking price. It just took a couple hours of his time. Unfortunately, it took a little bit of time. It took about a week for him to find the time to kind of make it down here. And once he did, this is what we've got. And it's in really good shape. It needs a few items, which Grimes is working on in the hood, but interior-wise, I'm going to show you that in just a second. It's looking really good. Of course, she needs new shoes. The tires, shockingly, need to be replaced. Wizard and I joke about this, that we hardly ever buy a car that doesn't need new tires. I think one of the last ones we bought was my Levante, and that was just because it was still too new to not need new tires yet. But otherwise, anything with some age on it, anything with a few years, we get stuck buying tires for it. I guess in the end, when we do sell them, you know, we have the assurance of giving them a car that will make it down the road, and they don't have to buy tires, I guess, and it gives us maybe a little extra on the resale value. So enough of this talk of the history of this cute little purple beast. Let's go ahead and hop into the interior. Okay, ladies, gents, this is our normal view for an interior review. Not always doing these on my channel though, but here is that gauge cluster and it's in really good condition. I wish I could turn it on, but the battery's disconnected because Grimes is doing some serious work in that engine bay. But it would read 103,000 miles, but let's go ahead and move up. The dash is in really good shape. Nice, kind of a camel tan color. So we move down, good shape. One thing that was interesting is when we got this, open up the glove box, the entire glove box was filled with napkins. No owner's manual, no other paperwork, just napkins, which I guess attributes to the cleanliness of the car. As we move to our center section, we do have some lovely wood trim. One thing that they have added is a nice Alpine stereo. And again, can't turn that on because the battery's disconnected. But one thing it does have is this is of the era of the removable faceplate, which I guess is good when you're driving a convertible and the top's down. So it snaps into place. Don't know how it sounds, don't know anything else about it because I haven't had time to look at it because they've been tearing it apart. But we've got a simple more controls down there. Not so sure, we haven't figured what this guy is yet, but we will get there. We don't know about that one yet. And the other one we haven't tested is our convertible top. She's hiding way back there behind the gear shifter. So we'll see. We're going to test that as soon as we can get the battery connected. One thing I have already added is this nice little double charging spot for USB for our phone. But when I plug it in, these actually illuminate. And normally they would be illuminating if the battery was on, but the battery is not. So you're not seeing it. But, one thing I was worried about, is that going to be a battery drain? Let's see. So one thing I found was interesting is like, is it going to be a problem? And they say, no, it does not take that much power away. It's a very small power consumption. Yeah, I'm not believing that in a heartbeat. So obviously when I'm not using this, I will pull it up just a little bit so it's not quite so flush. You'll see it's up just a little bit, because I think if I were to not drive this for a week or two or a month in the winter, that would definitely be enough of a pull over time. So, be careful with those very small battery drains. But again, nice simple gear selector there. Yes, it is an automatic. I did not want a stick shift because Newton is full of starting and stopping and stoplights and stop signs and dips and trains. I don't want to have to deal with a stick shift with all that. I just want something I can zip around town. We do have a fun little hidey hole here and haven't cleaned this one out. So it's got a couple of pennies and a light from the previous person. The next one is a cup holder, which looks like it could use a little help, and I might get some coasters for there as well, just to make it easier to clean in the future. Got a small little spot right here, I'm not sure, coins, and another little spot with a nut in there as well. The space between the two seats has a speaker, and our back shelf is looking really good. Looks like it could use some vacuuming, but once I get the top down, I think I'll be working on that. The isinglass is rather hazy, and that's one of the things I want to work on, seeing if I can brighten that up a little bit. But again, I plan on driving this with the top down. As we move up, I don't see any holes. I don't see any light shining through. We move to here. We have the oh so tiniest visor. And I guess there's no option for covering up the mirror, which apparently needs some serious help. It's rather dusty and yuck, but doesn't move. It is just static right there. Very simple design. So as we make it back to our steering wheel, this roundel is probably the only one that's in good condition. The others are going to get replaced, which I actually have in a box in the car already. There it is, brand new, ready to get popped on. So other than this one right now, the rest of them are not in that good of condition. But as you look, we've got all of our controls on the side. It was not popular during that era to put controls on the steering wheel. So it's got cruise, which works. It's got our windshield wipers, turn signals. All of those items do work. The only thing that's not working right now is some of those engine components, because there was a little bit of maintenance that needed to get done. So overall, the car does need a little bit of maintenance. And from what we've learned from the guy that we purchased this car from, is that I will be the third owner. The first owner, we understand, was an older lady who had it, and she sold it about a year and a half ago. So knowing how we are with cars, maybe we don't always do all of that maintenance toward the end of a car that we're maybe not driving as much, or maybe not liking as much. It isn't what we're needing to use as our primary transportation. And then it's been a year with the other person that we did buy it from. And so there maybe was a little bit of time that it wasn't being driven a lot. Looking at the title, the miles that are on here now, they haven't put a whole lot of miles on the car in the year and a half that they have owned it. So maybe some of that sitting around also doesn't help, especially being that this is a BMW with a ton of brakey plastic. Well, hopefully not this old of one. One thing that the Wizard did not show on his video was the actual trunk. Let me show you in there. You might be surprised with what you're going to see. So one thing that is really nice is that, look at that, trunk struts that work. And let me tell you, it is like, I could get a workout. These things work great. So that's one really nice thing that is working out well. One thing we can see, let's go ahead and move in a little closer, is that we can see right here, we have some paint that has chipped off here, and you can see it's maybe a little more faded there. We do know that the car was repainted at one time. So I don't know, it looks like it's still in good shape. It's not rusting or anything. Another thing we note is that the antenna is setting back here. It's getting the supports glued back in, so it is one step closer. As we move in, let's zoom down just a little. So one thing we can see is it actually has the toolkit. Isn't that amazing? Now, all the pieces are here. We've got our, if we need to tow it, we're taking off the lug nuts. Not so sure what we have a screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver for it, but it's here nonetheless. Not so sure what should have been here. Maybe you guys can tell me what that was in the comments. One thing it has is a socket. Not so sure where it goes again, but it's included. And his little buddy is not here, so not so sure where he would have gone, but again, we have the one if we had to take off the wheels. This guy helps take off the tire from down below, and it even still has the wheel chocks on it. Here is our battery, and it doesn't look terribly old, but being that it's in the trunk doesn't mean that it's not old because it doesn't get dirty back here. It's probably a couple years old, but it still looks really good being that it's in the trunk, not around all of the dirt and debris of the engine bay. So carpet back here is looking good. One thing that I really like to do whenever I have a car, and I have one in my Levante already, is just a very simple basket. Nothing fabulous, nothing fancy. It came from the store with walls. Okay, Walmart. But you can go to your normal place, wherever you want to. But this is great because then you can put stuff back here. Doesn't go flying through everything, you know, as you go around corners. Because if I'm drifting a little bit of a corner, I don't need stuff flying around. If not, it'll be contained in this one nice little tote. So as soon as I can get this cleaned up, polished up, everything's in good shape. Need new tires, put the new roundels on it, clean the windshield. There's no cracks or chips in the windshield at all. So this is going to be a great car once we get her all wrapped up and get all those little itty bitty little things wrapped up and finished. And okay, well, it's a BMW, but luckily I think I know a couple of guys who might be able to help me keep this on the road. Luckily, we don't live too far from the shop, so if it does break down, I'll be saved pretty quickly, I hope. Nonetheless, I'm glad you were able to watch today. Remember, if you haven't saw Wizard's first video, you might want to check that out. I'll put a link for that in the description. You see the rest of this car on the underneath and the inside and all of that. But thanks for watching. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, love for you to do that. Bye.